Knicks fans, what's going on? Shout out to the chat. I got my guy, the Podfather Sim, in the building. What's going on, Sim?
Peace, 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 everybody. How y'all feeling out there?
Thank you for joining me again. This might as well be considered another quick hits with Sim. It's not going to be too long. Couple of questions, a couple of thoughts. I always like to get Sim's opinions on some of the things that pop into my head. So I'm gonna lead this one off, and then I'll let you answer, as you see fit. But and then the chat also, I want to hear you guys' opinion as well. But the question was, is Jalen Brunson the missing piece, or is he just a piece? And I sat on this all from last night to today, and I'm trying to figure out, what's my opinion? What do I think? And I'm leading towards I'm going with missing piece, and I say that specifically for this team. You know what I mean? So when I say missing piece, he may not be the missing piece on another team for another organization, and I don't necessarily mean this is the piece that puts us over the top and we win in the championship. But what I will say is, for this team, it's exactly what we need. We needed somebody to take the lead. You know what I mean? Somebody that could calm us down when things are going awry. Somebody with the ability to take over. Um, Somebody who takes some pressure off of Julius Randle. I think that's going to be tremendous. State said it on your show a little while ago. And I was trying to hoping I could get him on to expand, but I think he'll do wonders for Mitchell Robinson. We've talked about how Randall hasn't played with a point guard, but no one on our team really has. You know what I mean? Like not of Jalen Brunson's caliber. So I think he'll do wonders for Mitchell Robinson. He'll do wonders for um Julius Randle. I think he'll do wonders for RJ Barrett. Even though I think out of the 5 or 4 predicted other starters, I think Barrett, it's almost on him the most to do what he's gonna do for himself.
Hmm.
Um, but Brunson's impact on Fournier, Randall, and Mitch, I think is gonna be tremendous. And that's why I'm say the missing piece rather than just the piece, because just the piece to me suggests there were a lot of different people that could have came in and just filled that same type of role, and I don't think that is the case. I think he is perfectly suited for us.
Yeah. For this particular team, I think he is. I don't want to say it because I don't think he's just a piece. I think he's much more than just a piece, right? Um, I think there's a couple of missing pieces for this team, right? And I think he's one of them.
Okay.
I think he's one of them because I agree. Now, I do think that when I go back, I think that Murray, his skill set might have fit this team better, but I think Jalen Brunson's mindset fits this team better, which may make him the better piece for this
Mm-hmm.
team. You know what I mean? Um, because and what really made me think that is I was reading an article back from 2015 that was talking about the way that his father trained him, and just the determination that he had as a young man, um, and what he had to go through when his father was going through a sexual assault case, and he was going into other arenas, and people were you know coming at him, fans and stuff coming at him, yelling stuff at him, and all this kind of stuff, and his numbers went up during that time. You know what I mean? And he handled it. There was one time, I guess, where he was, came at a fan or said something, and his father was like, "You can't do that." You know, you know, it can't be both of us out there. You got to ignore that. And he learned from that. You know what I mean? And I think that his just that mindset, and for everything I read, he's always serious. Like he's just serious about basketball. Everything about it is serious. And I think the Knicks need that. He's that guy that the Knicks need. That
Hmm.
guy that's serious. And I feel like he's that guy that will get in people's face. You know what I mean? Or don't have to be aggressively getting in their face, but say, no, we need you to do this. We need you to do that. So in that aspect, I do think that he's a missing piece. You know what I mean? Because I think he adds so much of what the Knicks needed from a point guard standpoint to a mindset standpoint. You know what I mean? And the mindset that Tibbs wants to have, I think, maybe there wasn't a player on the court that could really portray that. Maybe Derrick Rose, but Derrick Rose with the
Yep.
injury histories, et cetera, et cetera. Jalen
Brunson.
Brunson has that same mindset, and Derrick Rose is almost like a mentor to him, right? So now you got the mentee and the mentor on the same team,
Yep.
you know, and he's
And I
got his
think that.
and then if you go and you read this article and you learn about the relationship between his dad and him, like his dad is the one that continued to be the person, like he was the person who would tell him the straight truth all the time on the way that he felt he was playing, and it helped him to elevate his game. And I think, Tony, you mentioned it a long time ago when we were talking about, does Rick Brunson come and mean that maybe Jalen Brunson don't want to play for his dad? But you said, I think maybe he does want to play for his dad. And after reading what I read, I agree with you, right? That he knows that his dad, or feels that his dad can help him go to another level, and knows that in New York, he's going to need his dad there to keep
Yeah.
him straight, keep him focused. You know what I mean? So after reading that, I'm just like super excited about what Jalen Brunson can bring to this team, man. And I'm trying not to go over the top and jump off the bridge with it, trying to be sensible, you know what I'm saying? But I'm like, yo, man, if he can really bring that, like it changes this basketball team. You know what I'm saying? They may not have the super duper Kevin Durant type talent, but they have talented players on his team, and players like RJ Barrett who are getting better, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi. These guys are getting better. And his mindset coming
Mm.
in, I think, will help them get better, because I think, and this is just something that I'm thinking about that just kind of came to me right now, right? Julius Randle wanted to be the guy that had that mindset, but didn't know how to do it, right? Jalen Brunson has that mindset and knows how to do it, and get it out to everyone else. And hopefully he can, like Julius Randle, can have that mindset for himself, but don't have to be the one to spread the message. Jalen Brunson can be the one to spread the message while still
Hmm.
having that mindset, and the two can work together with that same
Hmm.
mindset. And I think maybe you're going to see a more serious basketball team this year. You know what I'm saying? With an edge. Julius Randle's going to have an edge. Jalen Brunson's going to have an edge. You know what I mean? And they're going to be tough.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Teams are going to leave away with bruises. You know what I mean? And
From the
and
Knicks, we got opposite bruises
right.
from the Knicks.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited about that. So I'm trying to control my expectations. And how I feel. You know what I mean? Or I'm trying to
Well,
control it, but I like the way the fit is and what I see with it. So.
I already jumped out the window on live, so I might as well stand on it and hold it. I already said I think the Knicks are gonna have two All Stars this season, and I said Brunson is the one that I'm sure of, and I'm not sure who the second one is gonna be. So I got to stand on that. If y'all want to throw tomatoes, go ahead. Y'all want to take a little clip and hold it for the All Star time of the year or something. I'm with that too, but I'm standing on it. You mentioned a couple things that really made me think about a bunch of different things. Number one, when you was talking about Brunson and like his professionalism or his seriousness,
Hmm.
it automatically made me think of something I watched this morning. It was an interview with Jamal Crawford on Vince Carter's. Vince Carter did his first episode of his podcast. Had Jamal Crawford on, And one of the things that he kept saying was like, "You never cheated the game. You never cheated the game." Actually, Crawford said that about Vince Carter. He said, "I knew he was going to make that last shot, which ended up being the last shot of your career." I believe that was against the Knicks too,
Mm-hmm.
Hawks Knicks pandemic.
Yeah.
He was like, "I knew he was going to make that shot just because you never cheated the game." So the basketball guards were gonna bless you in that moment of your last shot of your career, even though you didn't know it was gonna be definitively that your last shot. But automatically I start thinking of Brunson as a guy who doesn't cheat the game. You know what I mean? He's gone through the obstacles. He's been undervalued. Like from high school to college to the NBA, and he just continues to fight up, and I think you got to respect that, and I think more rewards are coming.
Yeah.
He reaped the benefits this playoffs, and you know what have I been saying for a couple of years? Superstars and stars are made in the playoffs, right?
Right.
He had one of the best playoff performances of this past playoffs, and there's still questions out there. It's I'm looking around the landscape of the ESPNs, the CBS Sports, and all these other professionals, and nobody's knocked the Knicks for the move. Nobody has said it was a bad signing or anything like that. But they're very weary of what they say and how much of a impact they believe Brunson is going to have,
Right.
and I think even these guys are selling him short. Um, so I think he is the piece for us, and I think he unlocks a whole lot for the guys who are here.
Yeah.
Um, Real quick, the you
Well,
said you talked about the mindset with Julius Randle and how Brunson has that. Do you think that's something that can be taught, or even is this something that Randle has to look at and kind of adjust? Is it something that Brunson can actually talk to Randle about on adjusting, or a little bit of both? What's your thoughts on
I,
that in particular?
I think that Randall already has the mindset.
But it's flawed.
Uh,
No, I
I,
agree.
yeah, I think he has that serious heart, that serious type of mindset. Um, I just don't think he understands how to communicate it to everybody else. You know what I'm saying? I think he's still learning and growing in that regard. It seemed like last year maybe he had it a little bit more, or maybe it was easier to convey to everybody else because of the pandemic. They almost didn't have no choice but to be that serious, right? Because there was no place to go, et cetera, et cetera. And then this year maybe he came in and expected that people were going to do the same thing. And I'm not blaming anybody else for his behavior, right? But people all of a sudden now, well, I can go out here, I can do this, I can do that. So everybody wasn't doing that same thing again, you know. Uh, and and then people aren't doing the same thing. He's probably like, okay, how do I deal with this? If I'm supposed to be the leader, how do I deal with this? I think Jalen Brunson just already understands how to deal with some of those things, and even and maybe Julius Randle. Sometimes you have people who they know the right thing to say, but it comes out all wrong. I feel like Julius Randle could be that guy. He knows the right thing to say, but he don't know how to say it to make it come across so that people want to listen and follow him. You know what I mean? Um, I think that Jalen Brunson maybe I don't know, but maybe knows how to do that. He's just you gotta. I'm gonna send you this article. You gotta read it. You know what I mean? Like when he was a kid and he was going to like his community service games, right? He wore a suit
Mm.
to those games, bro. He wore a suit, right? Because this is what he saw as being a basketball player, right? His dad had to wear a suit. Oh, he wore a suit. Instead of having a little book bag with his toys in it, he walked around with like a rolling
Duffel bag.
briefcase.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? With his toys in it. Just serious mindset from the time he's a little kid. You know what I'm saying? And he's got that big chip on his shoulder, and I think him having that chip is going to I think it's gonna roll over to everybody else. I really do. Because when you look at the team, Mitch, Obi, quickly, right? Derrick Rose is in the phase of his career where he's like, I'm cool, everything is chill. These guys, they're young and they're supposed to have this mindset. I'm not mad at them for it. But these guys are like, yo, I'm having fun. I'm having a good time. They're nice guys, this and that, this and that. Jalen Brunson is going to change all that, I think. It's going to change all that.
I agree. Oh, shout out to Dan Marrero. I see you all over the chat. Appreciate you. He said it's learning how to humble himself while proving everything wrong, and I think that's a great point because that's another thing that I've noticed and it stands out with Jalen. I mean, obviously, even with this recent success in the playoffs, he still seems humble. I've seen a couple of interviews from him after the playoffs, before free agency, where he's talking about the pending decision, and he's talking about the time on the floor with Luka. He's talking about everything this past year, and he's just still so humbled. He
Right.
talks about continually having to prove himself, but it's not in a braggadocious way, or it's not like I've arrived and see I told y'all. It's he still has things to prove. He still has things to prove to himself. He talked about wanting to become an all-star, and or the reporters that's part of the decision for him coming to New York is boosting his shot at becoming a all-star. So the fact that I believe it's possible, and I know now it's on his mind, and it's a goal, it makes me even more confident that he's gonna
Yeah.
achieve it.
Right.
Um, I got
And and
go ahead.
and I think people gotta take into account the fact that he could have. I mean, obviously Tom Thibodeau was in New York and Leon Rose and all of that, right? But he could have chose and said, I'm gonna try to go to Detroit and be an all-star. And I know they got, who they got over there and all of that. But it was out there that, they were interested in him. He could have been, I want to go to Detroit, or I'm gonna stay right here in Dallas and try to be the all-star. No. He said, I'm gonna go to one of the toughest cities in the NBA to play, try to become an all-star there. And before he even, obviously it was known that he was going to the Knicks, but he also put out there that he needed to be convinced that you had a plan to win. And I don't think he would have went to the Knicks if he didn't feel like they had a plan to win, and he knew what these plans are. So,
All right.
and as far as like with Julius Randle, we just had the whole show on Julius Randle. I don't think he would have went to the Knicks if he thought Julius Randle was going to be negative. I think he probably has or already has knows Julius Randle, and they maybe have some kind of relationship already, and he understands who Julius Randle is.
Yeah.
So,
And I mean, I was gonna say tampering aside, and I'm sure he, I'm sure he spoke to his agent about the potential or what comes with playing in New York. But on the flip side, how do you, as the agent, your client's supposed to always be first, but you can't really downplay or talk bad about the organization your dad's running either.
right,
You know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, now you don't want to go there, and your dad is running the
yeah.
place. But I
Now,
would think that they're all professionals, they're all family pretty much. So I think if you're gonna get the real and the the real opinion, like, hey, I don't think you want to come here. You know what I mean? And kind of because things go wrong, it could derail a career. You know what I mean? And I'm
right,
sure there's no inkling that things can go wrong. That like, and that's more of that fit thing, that missing piece. You know what I mean? Like, I think even the family feels that way. You know what I mean?
right, right. Um, the whole tampering thing is I don't know. What are you gonna do? We'll see how that comes to fruition. But you
I think
know,
I think it's tough to prove.
Yeah, but with his, I think that he feels comfortable with everybody there, right? He's surrounded around family and people that he's known for years, and he's, I'm pretty sure. I think Leon Rose was his agent, and then his son became Leon Rose's son
Hmm.
became Jalen Brunson's agent before. I mean, when he was
When
going
he
to the
took the
Knicks,
job, yep.
right? So, he's had conversations, had dinner. He knows what Leon Rose is about. He knows what Tom Thibodeau is about. He obviously knows what his dad is about. And, that's gonna, I mean, one, that automatically makes him the man. You know what I mean? I mean, that makes him the guy, and everybody else knows. Could that go awry? It could,
I
what I'm
think
saying,
I
depending
think
on how people feel about it. But
I think there's a potential for that in the short term,
right.
but I think because of who he is professionally, and the fact that, like I mentioned a little while ago, he's so humble. I
Hmm.
think that changes. Even if as a teammate, you know what I mean? Because I played with a coach's son, where the coach was the dad was the coach in the team, the son was the point guard. I've been in that situation. Granted, this ain't NBA level. This is uh, middle school level, but there was animosity of,
Yeah.
did he deserve this?
Right. Right.
Is he
Right.
being
Right.
held accountable? Is he being
Right.
held to the same standards? He's allowed to make mistakes, etc., etc. But when you realize that he is who he's projected to be, or he is who they say he is, you know what I mean? Then I think you kind of really you fall in line, and,
Right.
and he's humble enough that I think he holds himself accountable. He holds himself to a higher standard than
Yeah.
the average player does.
And from what I read, once they see the way his dad talks to him and treats him, they gonna be like, okay, never mind. You know?
So you say he used to walk, he used to make a walk home or walk to practice or something.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta read the article, man. Like,
I was gonna say he might still make a walk to practice as as an adult right now. So
right, you know what I'm saying? So
but
I think it's gonna be a very good match. The Knicks and Jalen Brunson in this particular basketball team. I think it's gonna be a good match. You know what I mean? A good
shout
fit.
shout out to Rayology in the chat as well. Salute, brother. Hope you're doing well. But I know if you here, you know what I mean. I know everything's good right now. So appreciate you. Sim, if there's something, we'll say two players, right? But if you
Yeah.
want to go more than two players, that's fine. But give me two things that you feel like Brunson can come in and teach two players. You can pick the two players and say, but I want Brunson to teach this player this and this player this. And if you got more than two or more than you know what I mean,
Hmm.
more than two things he could teach, by all means. But just to make it less difficult on the spot.
Right.
And if you want, I could go first on with one of them because this is like, honestly, I'm not even gonna name a player. If he could teach two players anywhere close to his footwork, I don't care which two he teaches. I'm gonna go with Mitchell Robinson because if Mitchell Robinson could just get some decent footwork in the post, I think that expands his game tremendously. Um, But I don't even care who the second player is. It could be Eddie. It could be a point guard. It could be RJ
Yeah.
Barrett. It could, what I
I
mean.
mean,
But if he could teach two people his footwork, mm,
okay. See, for me, I think my biggest thing is going back to Randall. If he can help Randall to handle, being one of your primary players or the primary player on the team. You know what I mean? If he can uh help Randall to do that, if he can be the person that Randall respects the most on the team. You know what I mean? So that whatever he says, Randall's like, okay, boom, I got it. I'm with it. You know what I mean? I think that's the biggest thing for me. Is him being able to teach Randall how to handle everything that's going on, handle New York, basically. Because I think Jalen Brunson's going to do a good job. Um, and maybe Randall can look after him and say, okay, this is the way that I got to do it. Because if you get Jalen Brunson playing, going to another level and playing, and listen, it might be an adjustment period too, because this is going to be the first time he's having the role that he's having.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if he can perform and Randall can play at an all-star level, doesn't have to be on the all-star team, just play at an all-star level. Man, you talk about a team that can be,
Dangerous.
that can be dangerous, that can do something. You know what I'm saying? D Public Enemy said Brunson can teach all the Knicks to be a champion because he's won before. Yeah, right. He's won at Villanova. He's won. He's always been a winner.
And I don't think that mentality ever wavered. You
Right.
know what I mean? He hasn't won in the NBA, but the mentality I
Yeah.
think has remained, throughout his tenure, throughout his career.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
The Knicks are getting a guy with a chip, with a serious chip on his shoulder. You know what I
I
mean?
agree.
Like he has a serious chip to want to prove to everybody that he can be, he can be an all-star and one of the top players in the league. You know what I mean? And I like having a guy like that on your team.
All right,
Love
all
having a
right.
guy like that. You know what I mean?
So,
Another story from that article that I thought was funny. He had on a Michael Jordan shirt, t-shirt, and he seen Jordan. He was like 10 years old. He seen Jordan.
oh
And
yeah.
Jordan said, "Hey, do you want to autograph it?" And he backed way up from him and said, "No, you might mess it up." I think that Jordan is hilarious.
Oh, hold on, I want to shout out RL. He says salute from this 860. I don't. Oh, did I lose it? Here we go. From the eight salute from the 860. I don't know what area code that is. If you know Sims, but
I don't know.
appreciate you joining, man. I definitely appreciate you. Appreciate all of you guys in the chat for sure. My next question was, and it's
Oh,
actually ties.
Connecticut. I'm sorry, Connecticut.
Okay,
Connecticut.
pre-
CT in the building.
appreciate you. Um, my next question, it actually fit in with your answer for the first question. As far as the missing piece or just the piece. Because you said he feels. You said he's one of the missing pieces, and that says that we still have some holes in this team. Even though because I agree with you. Even though we're glutted at some spots and some areas, I do think that there are pieces to this team that are missing. That will bring us closer to championship contention, if
Hmm.
you will. One of the main things that I think that we're still missing is an enforcer. We talked about that last year. We talked about that. I would say maybe since the trade from Mook Morris, because he was kind of that enforcer guy that we had on our team. Um, I don't know if Taj is that at this point. I don't know how close to. I guess he's the closest thing we have to like the Udonis Haslam role,
Right.
but at the same time, I think he might be even a little bit too professional to kind of take on that same enforcer role. You know what I mean? Like Haslam, Haslam will come in the game just to get a technical foul. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
I don't know if Taj is that guy. You know what I mean? Like he's definitely valuable in what he does and what he means as a veteran leadership and especially showing to stay ready. He's definitely a more productive player on the floor still, at his age and than a Haslam. So But as far as the enforcer, I don't know if we have it still, and I still think you need those kind of guys. Even the guy who just went from Miami to Philly, you, you, you know um you know who I'm talking about, undersized for defensive guy.
Oh, yeah, yeah. But
Yeah,
I can't think of his name, but yeah, I
but
know you're talking about.
even him productive, but he's an enforcer too. He'll take one for the team and say, "Yo, you're not gonna do this to my point guard. You're not gonna that foul was too hard. That wasn't a basketball play. You know what I mean? I think some guys may feel that more valuable not being the enforcer on this team, and that may be true. But that's one hole that I definitely feel like we're missing. Obviously, we got our point guard now. We have our potential stretch five, somebody who definitely brings a whole new dynamic to the team that I think was missing in Hartenstein. Um, but we were missing an enforcer. Your thoughts on that? And then if you think, what are some of the holes that you think this roster is missing to kind of propel us into
Yeah,
championship
y-
or just perennial playoff contention. Even though I think we're there, perennial playoff. I think we're there with that roster, with this roster right
yeah.
now.
I don't know if we have an enforcer. I mean, we don't. I don't think we have that kind of enforcer on the team, and I don't see anyone that can really play that role. You know what I mean? Taj is not that kind of a guy to play that kind of enforcer role. I don't know if we. I don't. I just don't think we have that guy on the team. You know, I wouldn't mind seeing Julius Randle be that guy. To be honest with you, he's the biggest and strongest guy. You know what I mean? Got that kind of a look, but I don't know if he can handle it right now. I don't want to ask him to do it. I just
I
want to
think
ask him to keep his emotions in check. So,
I
you
think
know,
I think it's too dangerous to ask him to do it because
yeah,
I think, and this is with all respect, he may not know where the line is.
right,
You know
right.
what I mean? To not go over it, and I think I'll go back to the was it him that was it Randall retaliating off of the hard foul from Reggie Bullock? Now granted, what he did wasn't excessive, but I think it was frowned upon,
Oh,
if
right, 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 right.
if you will.
Yeah,
You,
in the
you
playoffs
know,
against the
yeah, and
Hawks, right?
yes. Um,
Yeah,
and I don't know if because I felt like his heart was in the right spot. You know what I mean? He was trying to adopt or take on that enforcer type of role in that moment, and I think overall maybe it was how because it wasn't immediate. Obviously he had to think about what he was gonna do before he did it. You know what I mean? It wasn't instinctual. So
right.
so to put it on him where it's not instinctual, I think
Nah, I agree.
you're borderline taking a risk that he
Take,
goes overboard.
taking a
And
big risk that he goes overboard.
you need the guy that you need the guy that is built for that moment. You know what I mean? Like you
Yeah,
could take it back to Oakley. You know what I mean? Like he ain't have
right,
to think about it. He was reacting. He might be
right,
wrong in his reaction, but
right,
you're gonna take that. So
right.
how important do you think that role is though? Like do you think that's something we need to go out and find, even if it's not immediately,
I
or
mean,
you think you could maybe name some teams that be like, hey, they didn't have
yeah,
enforcement,
I
they didn't
think
have.
I think I think they can get Pat by without having that guy. If everybody is just tough all the way around and just plays tough all the way around, and maybe Jalen Brunson will have that effect on the team. You know what I mean? But if everyone is just tough all the way around, and the Knicks always come into the game with just like this serious mindset, you know what I mean? Maybe you don't even need it. Like I wouldn't mind seeing this team come into each game and they don't even clap hands at jump ball. You know what I'm saying? They just standing there like, no, we came to ball. Forget clapping hands. You know what I'm saying? Take that old Pat Riley rule. We don't help you up off the floor if you
Yeah.
fall. We stepping over you. You know what I'm saying? Like, if everybody came in with that mindset, I don't know if you need the enforcer. People like, yo, this team's serious.
Now I agree with you 100%, 1,000%. I think that is a way to um, mitigate or eliminate the need for that individual presence
Yep.
if it's a team thing.
Right.
I am scorned, and I'm gonna bring up one of my nicks and bruises, but ever since that playoff series, Knicks Nets, New Jersey Nets, Tim Thomas and Kenyon Martin,
Kenyon Martin.
who it took me a long time to accept him, even as a Nick, because
Right.
of what he did as a
Call him
net,
Fugazi and all that. When they
all
call him
that.
Fugazi, right?
Yes, but when he put that hard foul on Tim Thomas, and nobody, like
Right.
nobody
Right.
ran to help him up. Nobody
Right.
ran at Kenyon
I
Martin.
remember that.
You know what I mean? Like that was one of my most disheartening moments as a Knicks fan because they I thought that team was so talented, but you could obviously see they weren't together. You know what I mean?
Right.
It wasn't us against the world.
Exactly.
So, but I agree with you. If they can adapt that as a whole, and Randall's going to have to be a big, it's going to be have to be a big part of adjustment because he's one of the guys that I have yet to see run to help his teammate up.
Right.
You know what I mean? I've actually seen the opposite. I'm not going to say he's never picked his teammate up because he has. He's very selective in who he picks up, and you have to be in the vicinity already. He's not running over there. To,
Right. Right.
like
Right.
to,
But
and to me,
but you know
that
what? Even if he's just doing more like if someone's talking to RJ, he's stepping in between.
hmm
He's stepping in between and it's like, yo, don't talk to my man,
yeah, not my
or
guy.
whatever. You know what I mean? Um, But I would love to see the Knicks, the entire team, just take that type of mindset into the game. No dinners before with the opposing team before the games. You ain't going out to dinner. No texts, no phone calls, no nothing. It's just like, yo, we came here to hoop. We can be friends after, but before the game, we ain't doing none of that. I would love to see them take that. No laugh like IQ. See Lou Williams like, oh, you used to be my favorite player. I mean, I'm not mad at him for that. I'm just, I'm not mad
I
at him
mean,
for that.
you got
That's
to put the
cool.
rule to after the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Win or
right.
lose, you can do that
Exactly.
after the game.
Do that after the game. You know what I mean? Like, we don't want none of that. We serious. You know what I'm saying? We're not even smiling on the court. I remember my cousins when I was, playing ball, and they used to come to my games, be like, "Yeah, we calling your name and how come you never smile?" I'm like, I'm serious. I take the game serious. And first of all, I don't hear you in the stands. You can scream as loud as you want. I can't hear you because my focus is not on you. And number two, I was always serious when I played.
Yeah,
People said I played too serious, even playing pickup ball. I was serious, bro. People
and
like, yo, why you going so hard? I'm like, I don't
ask
know what else to
Isaiah.
do. What I'm saying? Like, I don't know what else to do. What I mean? But if they could take that kind of mindset into the game, I think that would be really, really good. You know what I mean? I see 4-8 in the chat says, I think y'all talking about a team captain more than an enforcer. Uh, I, I mean, I think Tony's talking about an enforcer, but I think this year, yeah, you need to really, I think Tom Thibodeau needs to really say, here's my team captains, or let the team pick the captains, however they're going to do it. But establish your team captains. I think you need to establish some leadership on this team.
Tibbs has historically given out the team captain assignment or patch um late in the season compared to some other coaches or organizations. Do you think Brunson has to earn that captain role for Tibbs, or do you think that's something that can be given to him based off of what you've seen of
I,
him elsewhere?
I think I mean I don't think for any team you just come in and you give it to him like, yep, this is my captain now. You know what I mean? But I think what happens is as you get and this is why I like having at least one or two of your captains chosen by the team, right? They come in, the players know who has the leadership voice on the court, right? They know who that player is or players, and if the team chooses Brunson as the captain, then you're all good. If Tom Thibodeau says this is my captain, I don't think that's good. You know what I mean? With him just coming to the team. I think you gotta let it, You got to let him grow into that leadership role. If you just give it to him right off top, if the team chooses him, that's one thing. If the coaches just bam, you're the captain, I think that's another thing.
All right. I'm gonna double back to the question because you didn't give me your holes that you think
Yeah,
this team
yeah.
is missing. But I want to ask you something about what you just said about no smiling, no dinners before the game, no hanging out. What's the repercussion if a teammate is caught or have been known to have you know disregarded that rule, and IQ got caught having dinner with Mitchell
Donovan
Donovan
Mitchell
Mitchell. Off seasons off, okay, but let's say it was before the game, they got caught at having dinner.
hit that
You know
man with
what?
a fine. Just like Pat Riley used to do. If you help somebody up, you used to get a fine. You hit them with a fine.
All right, that's fair. That's fair
You know,
enough. The money goes to charity or gets
charity. Yeah,
divided amongst the other players
that'd be a good idea,
that
right?
followed the rule. Oh, all right. So yeah, double back to
Yeah.
what are the holes with the addition of
Um,
Brunson? We got the stretch five enforcer. You agree, but there's ways that we may not need that. We could still be good. What are some holes you think are missing on this team?
more
Um.
shooters,
Okay.
knockdown shooters, like guys that you're afraid to leave to leave alone outside the 3 point line. Like you got guys like RJ and Randall that teams are gonna respect, but you still might creep out to them a little bit because they might not make it right. But another knockdown like Fournier, I think teams fear that he's gonna knock it down when he's shooting on the from the outside. Hopefully Quentin Grimes becomes that kind of a guy too. I think teams are a little bit like, yeah, Emmanuel quickly is off and on. He's erratic. We need another guy too, I think, that can really like really knock it down. Bang, 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 bang that teams are
Now,
afraid of.
now, is it to the? Are you okay either way? So could it be a Kyle Korver type that somebody who's like you said where he put it up, you think it's going in like every time anyway, or is it more important for it to be somebody like who we have in Grimes that solid 40% shooter, maybe has to get the volume up, but is a solidified defender as well.
Yeah.
Like, do you think it? Obviously, if you're choosing, you want the 3-and-D guy always, in my opinion, even if the 3-point percentage is not as surefire. But do you think that surefire 3-point shooter who may be limited other areas? You think we could go with either one, or one is more important than
Um.
the other?
Well, I mean, obviously, I would like to have a guy that can play deep, but I want to have a guy you got to chase all over the place. You know what I'm saying? Make them other shooting guards and small forwards tired. Evan Fournier is kind of like that guy a little bit, not as much. But if you have a guy that you got to chase, and when he catches it, a Seth Curry type.
So,
You know what I'm
okay,
saying? He catches it, boom, it's on his fingertips. He's going. Kevin Herter type of guy, like guys like that you got to chase around. They catch the ball, they're letting it go, and bang, they're knocking it down. I think that's needed. I think that's really needed on this team. And obviously, we need a number one guy. But besides that,
yeah.
we know that's obvious. Yeah, I see people saying, we need a 3-man, a small forward. I'm afraid. I get afraid if you have a guy like, say, Cam Reddish, was playing at a higher level. We don't know what he's going to come in and play like. Then I'm afraid we don't have that guy in that starting lineup that can run around screens and do those type of things. I like having a guy like that because it gives a variation to your offense.
How much of how much of that
But
how
but
much
I
of that has to be? I'm sorry. Go,
no
I
no I was
thought you
gonna
was
say,
done.
but I do think we need a guy, and Cam Reddish can be that guy. We need a guy that can be that all-purpose 3-man out there on the floor that can rebound a little, handle a little, shoot the ball, score the ball,
Hmm.
get assists like that. That guy, maybe it's RJ, maybe it's Cam. most of our guys like RJ and Cam are the two guys that are best for that right now. And at that position, I mean, what I'm saying? We don't have anybody else at that position. Like Cam is a natural three. And if he could elevate his game, that would definitely mean a lot for this team.
I agree. How much of the shooter running around the screens and having to be chased around the floor by his defender, how much of that has to be implemented directly from the coach, or is that something that can be part of someone's game, but and doesn't necessarily like? Because I think for the screening part alone, even if it's I guess the coach has to implement that into the set of the play, or do you think that's something that when there's no plays called, you and the team can kind of figure
Yeah,
that out,
and I
or
mean,
or or both?
I think it's both, right? I think the coach, works on some things, but also when you have a player that can do it, you're on a fast break. This guy knows, bang, they're coming down the right side of the floor. I'm running baseline so I can get over here, or guys start to understand this guy likes to come off screen. So now Randall and Mitch both set a screen without the coach even saying anything. You know what I'm saying? It just happens naturally because they know what this guy likes to do, and they work on little things in practice and walkthroughs and stuff to say, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Some players do that a lot.
Hmm.
They come up with little things that they're gonna do with each other uh without the coaches even knowing that they came up with it. So part of it is the coach putting it in, but you got to have the players that can do it.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Because like RJ, you probably not gonna have RJ running around coming off a bunch of screens because he's not gonna be the kind that is catching on his toes and shooting it up real quick. You know what I mean? Maybe Quentin Grimes can be that guy. I think Fournier can be that one of those guys, but he's not real fast either.
yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think we
But to your
missed
to
that guy
your
a little bit.
to your credit, he's not real fast, but he doesn't need a lot of space. You know what I
He
mean?
doesn't
Like
right.
he puts it up quick enough that maybe that can offset his speed.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna do these real quick. Um, are you concerned about Fournier Brunson backcourt defensively?
A little bit, little bit. I want to see it some, but I am because Fournier is not a great defender, and Brunson is smaller. If they can play good team defense though, communicate, then maybe it can work. So
Okay,
I am a little concerned about it though.
better solution to your concern. Grimes starting in place of Fournier, or moving RJ to the 2 and starting Cam at the 3.
So then it would be Cam starting. Either way, Fournier going to the bench and Cam or Grimes starting.
Yeah.
Um,
And if you think Cam at the 2, RJ at the 3, or it don't matter,
yeah,
just
but it would be
but
either
yeah, it would
Cam or
be
Grimes starting.
in
Um,
my opinion, because I don't know if quickly, as much
right.
as he's improved defensively, I don't know if he's ready to start and guard two guards,
I don't think so either.
coming from last
Um,
year.
Better solution to that. That's a good one, right? Because I think Grimes is the better defender, but Cam, I think, has the ability to defend. But I think Cam can give you a little bit more by way of, being able to create a little bit more offensively than Grimes can, at least from what we know right now. Was Friday we'll get a chance to see in the
Shout out to
summer
the
league,
coach.
right?
Shout out to his own
Yeah,
coach.
yeah, no doubt.
I
Shout
mean
out to his
trainer.
coach. Um, so man, but so if I'm focusing on defense, I'm gonna say Grimes.
Okay.
If that's really
Well,
the reason, I'm gonna say Grimes.
if I mean that makes sense, because I think for defense is the reason I'm saying, all right, let's see what Fourier does in the second unit. But that's why I posed the question, because once you take him out, is we would both agree that Grimes Cam is a better defender than quick Fournier.
Fournier, yeah.
And I think you're thinking exactly mine. I think offensively, Cam has more options than Grimes.
Right.
So without it being a defensive decision, let's just say better for the team. Which I mean,
Still a good
maybe
question.
you think the defense is the answer, and that makes the team better.
It's,
Because
it's
I'm torn. I'm torn. I think I would go the Cam route just because of his versatility and what he's
see, it's,
could
yeah,
do defensively. But
it's
most
tough.
people are saying Grimes that I asked this to.
Yeah, it's tough. I think I would still go with Grimes because then in the second unit, quickly likes to be off the ball sometimes. And so you can have Cam handle the ball in the second unit, assuming that Derrick Rose is situational, right? So you can have Cam handle the ball sometimes so that quickly can play off the ball. Now, if you have Grimes, I don't Grimes in the second unit and Fournier in the
That's
second unit, I
that's a
don't know
great
if you
point.
want those two guys handling the ball to allow quickly to be off the ball. So I think with Cam in the second unit, him and quickly can share that on ball off ball duties
Right?
a little bit more, you
You
know.
you you made a great valid point and the explanation. Like I get it, I understand it, and I'm not saying you changed my mind, but
Yeah.
I
So
I like your answer.
yeah, so it's it's gonna be a tough decision. You know what I mean? And I think Tom Thibodeau is gonna listen, three start, basically, four starters: Jalen Brunson, Mitchell Robinson, RJ Barrett, and Julius Randle. Those four guys are starting. It's going to be a battle for that next spot, and it's going to be between those three players. My
Excellent.
my my one fear though is with Fournier going to the bench. If Fournier, everyone is assuming, a lot of people, not everyone, a lot of people assume he's going to the bench. I'm not exactly sure he's going straight to the bench right off top.
Oh, to start the season, I
Yeah,
don't think so. I don't think that's
you know,
the MO.
yeah, right, exactly. I'm not exactly sure he's going to the bench. But also, my fear with him going to the bench is now you got him and Obi. I don't know how great Hartenstein is, defensively. I know he can block shots, but he may not be as quick on. Well, I've
Mm,
seen some video where he's been able to guard the perimeter, but he may not be as quick as guarding the perimeter. So, is that what you want to go with? And do you want to go with Obi and Evan Fournier in that second unit
that's a great point. Now you're talking about
defensively?
balance of the
Yeah,
entire roster
right,
and rotation
right.
compared to what I mean. So yeah, we got to spread the defenders out on both on the first unit and the second unit.
Because
Hold
because you
up.
don't want that second unit coming in and they can't guard anybody. You know what I'm saying?
It's old head salute to you, shout appreciate you. He says, so with that said, does Cam and RJ balance like Grimes and Fournier have balance? And I think he continued offense versus defense is what he's saying. If I'm understanding the
Uh,
question right, I think Cam and RJ balance offense and defensively better to me than
see,
Grimes and Fournier. But
but see, I look at Cam and RJ as very similar players, and Grimes and Fournier as very similar players. And to
you
me,
you
you
want to
would want to
combine two
have, yeah, you would want to
combine
have
two of them,
like either RJ and Grimes or RJ and Fournier, or Cam and Grimes and Cam and Fournier, so that
and
you
that makes
offset
the
what the other person does.
balance.
That
That
makes the
gives you the
balance.
balance. Good.
Right. That
See,
gives you the balance.
this is why I like rocking with you. I hope one day I can articulate my thoughts. You know what I mean, and get them out the way you do. Because I know I be butchering some of my opinions just because I'm not explaining it right.
Trust me, I'll be doing it too. I know I do.
Where people be arguing me, no, but da, and I'm like, but that's what I was trying to say.
Right.
I just said it wrong. Um, but Sim, man, it's always a pleasure to get you on here. The quick
No
hits
doubt.
went a little bit longer than than expected, but it's been fun. You definitely answered a lot of my questions and concerns moving forward, and yeah, I'm just excited, man. I really think Brunson is going to change the whole dynamic of this team. And, and,
Yeah,
and, and granted, I think RJ is out there working right now. I think he's putting in that same work that he put in after his first season with the Knicks, if not a little bit more, because he tasted result already, the results already too. What I mean? He tasted the fruits of his labor, and so he knows what it tastes like. What I mean? He knows what it feel like to get a inkling of success in this city. What I mean? I'm sure he wants to get back there. So I'm looking forward to his comeback, and
yeah.
the growth of the young guys.
I can't
You
wait for
know,
this season, man. I'm excited about this season. Even though Jalen Brunson is a semi big name, not a star, nothing like that, but a semi big name. Hartenstein, isn't really a big name, but I think it's going to fit what this team is about. And even if we stay exactly the way that we are, I'm excited to see Jalen Brunson, like you said, see what Jalen Brunson can do with the team. I'm excited to see if Julius Randle can make a, if he can make a change and he can come back. I'm excited to see if RJ, quickly, Obi, Mitch, Cam, to see if these guys have gotten better. You know what I mean? And see what they've been working on in the offseason, because these are all young guys that are going to they should continue to get better year after year after year. And pretty soon, something's going to come together for the Knicks. Either, these guys are going to really come together as a team, or someone's going to look at some of these players and say, wow, this guy has a chance to be a star, and they're going to have a disgruntled star. The Knicks going to trade, like something like that is going to happen. But the Knicks, look, before we go, I was telling State, like he was like, we $300 million for Brunson, Fournier, and Randall. I'm like, State, you gotta look at some things in this entirety. The Knicks are in a good situation, believe it or not. You know what I mean? If you look, the Knicks have had over the last 2 years, the Knicks have had a better record than they've had in any 2-year stretch since 2013. You know what I'm saying? 78 wins, 76 losses. Doesn't sound great, but it's way better than what we have been. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, we got 9 players 25 years or younger. And that includes who we just signed, Jalen
Jalen
Brunson.
Brunson. That's
He's
right.
25. 9 players 25 years and under. Only 2 players on the team are over 30 right now as we speak. Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson. Evan Fournier, he's going to be 30, turn exactly 30 in October. Julius Randle is 27 years old, right?
As much as Knicks fans don't want to hear it, there's a window here. Like there's a big window for the
Yeah,
full potential and success of the roster the way it's
right.
constructed
There's a
as it is.
there's a chance that the Knicks starting 5 is 27 and under. There's a chance, right? Jalen Brunson's 25. RJ Barrett's what, 22,
Hmm.
right? Mitchell Robinson's like 24. Julius Randle's 27. And then if Evan Fournier's starting, he'd start at 29, then he would turn 30. But if someone like Cam or Grimes is starting, they're going to be young, 22 years old. You know what I mean? There's a chance that the starting five is 27 and younger. That's good. And the Knicks got a bevy of picks that they can use. You know what I mean? And their salary cap right now is flexible. Evan Fournier's contract, he makes $19 million next year. Then he's on contract again for the following year, and then he's off. Derrick Rose, this is the last year of his contract, and then he's off, or the Knicks have a team option. Same thing with Fournier, a team option. The only long contracts that you have on the team right now are Brunson and Randall,
Hmm.
right? Randall's a guy that's made an all-star team for you, made an all-NBA team for you, and Jalen Brunson is a guy that people think can eventually make an all-star team. You know what I mean? Uh, the team is not sitting in a bad place. And they were 37 and 45 with a terrible season from Randall. Everybody on the team shot worse than they did the year before. Derrick Rose was injured all season. Nerlens Noel was injured all season long, and they were 37 and 45.
And let's not even mention Kimba.
And Kemba, you know what
let's
I'm saying?
not
And Kemba, I
let's
like,
not mention them.
the Knicks are not, despite what some people will have you believe, I don't think the Knicks are in that bad of a spot. You know what I mean? They're not in that bad of a spot. I think that, a lot of people say they need a whole lot to go right for them to do well. I mean,
No, I think they just need a
I don't
lot to
know.
not go wrong
Yeah,
because a lot went wrong last year.
I mean, listen, if Julius Randle just gets back to his career averages percentage wise, right, which is about 46, 47% from the field instead of 41% from the field, he gets back to 46, 47% from the field, and he's shooting at 32 or 33% from three. Jalen Brunson comes in and plays well. That's already 5 more wins.
Yeah.
That puts you at 500 right there, or better than 500. You know what I'm saying? So
All right, my last question, and you don't even got to answer it. But am I wrong for getting like pissed off every time I hear people comparing Jalen Brunson to Fred VanVleet? Fred VanVleet. Are do you think they are that close in game and
I
and and and,
I,
and
I do think they're similar. I do. I think they're similar, but I don't think that's a bad thing because I thought that Fred Van Vliet back then, I wanted the Knicks to go after Fred Van Vliet for that. What was it, $20 million a year? And everybody was like, nah, he ain't worth $20 million a year. He goes on to be an all-star. You know what I'm saying? I thought the Knicks should have went after Fred Van Vliet because I thought that he would fit with the Knicks really
listen,
well.
I did too. So it's no disrespect to Van Fleet. I just think Brunson's that much better. I think
Okay. Okay.
I think Van Fleet his accomplishment boosted his stock. And when I say that, is being a part of that championship team. But what the number that he was in that role was what, four at best, fourth option at
Hmm.
best on that championship team. I think, granted, Brunson didn't win the championship, but not only was he the number two option on his team, he was the number two option with the number one option being the player with the highest usage rate in the whole league,
Right.
in Luca, and had the opportunity to take over that number one role in Luca's absence, and 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 exceeded his, you know what I mean, like his performance was even better.
Right.
Um, so that those things. Now, granted, you can argue Van Fleet didn't get that opportunity, but I would just argue that he didn't get that opportunity in the playoffs. He's had that opportunity once that team got deconstructed, and I think Brunson is the better of the two. Um, but I
Nah,
guess time
I
will
have no
tell.
argument. I have no argument with that. I have no argument with that. I think, I mean, when you look at, I think Brunson is a little bit quicker than Fred Van Vliet, better footwork than Fred Van Vliet, a little more craftier, getting shots up to Fred Van Vliet. So I could definitely see what you're saying.
Yeah, I think if Van Fleet is having a bad shooting night, it's gonna be a long night for him. I think Brunson is savvy enough that, number one, his bad shooting night is not gonna be 11 attempts from three, or whether no matter how many he made. You know what I mean? Like 2 for 11, whatever. It won't be that.
Right.
Like, his bad shooting night might be a mixture. It might be 1 of 4 from three. You know what I mean? But that mid range is still gonna be there. You know what I mean? He could get to the rim and finish, and he could put he could put a big man in the spin cycle. Like
Yeah. Let me ask you this: Do you think this was the plan all along from the time that um Leon Rose got to the Knicks? The plan was for Jalen Brunson to come to the Knicks.
I believe honestly the initial plan was CP3. I believe that. I believe
Okay.
that was they.
Yeah. Okay.
I think that was their first guy that they felt like, I want to, again, tampering aside, but I feel like they had an inkling that they could get CP3, and that was going to be their first. like big acquisition. I
Uh-huh.
think I think a couple of things. I think it became risky as time went on. They started assessing the risk behind it. I also think their success made it to where they couldn't really get a bargain in bringing him on. So not only I think it was still possible, but they would have had to overpay. Like some argue that they did just now with Brunson. I think they would have had to exceed that 100 million, that 3 year 100 million with an older player, and then it, you know what I mean. It just kind of became like let's wait, let's wait. There'll be more opportunities. There'll be, you know what I mean. I
Right.
think he was on a list though of guys that they could either pursue in a trade, or if they had to wait it out to free agency. I think he was on the list of plans.
Yeah.
If
Now
there's one thing, that we know, everything they do is based off of a relationship
right.
some history. So I
Right.
think I think he was in the cards. It was written a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Now that I think back about the whole thing with Chris Paul, I agree. I think that um Chris Paul was the initial thought, right? We get Chris Paul here, probably Chris Paul and Melo, right?
Hmm.
And, if you think back on it, right? So that was that was probably the initial thing, right? Let's get Chris Paul here, and then have him run the team, and then that didn't happen, and it was like, okay, so now let's go get Brunson, and maybe even without Chris Paul, or maybe even with Chris Paul,
Yep.
Brunson was still
The future.
the future, right?
Hmm.
Okay, we'll get Chris Paul now. Then we're gonna go get Brunson, and we'll have somebody to step right in as soon as Chris Paul is ready to go.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. Um, yeah, I could definitely see that, and especially at that particular moment. I don't think Brunson had solidified himself as a starter. Not saying he wasn't able to, but that wasn't his role yet. As a, what I mean. He started off backing up Luca, and then ended up playing alongside him and being his co-star, if you will. But
Yeah.
Sim, man, as always, I appreciate you. Another great one. Quick hits with Sim. The chat,
Oh,
I appreciate you guys, man. There's no show without you guys as well. And if you haven't hit the like button, comment, subscribe. You can answer some of these topics. If you're watching it on the replay, and I'll see you guys next week. Sim,
okay, no doubt.
what you say you jumping on tomorrow?
Yeah, just a little free agency updates. Um, Summer League, talk a little bit about Summer League and stuff like that. On Friday, in the afternoon, I'm gonna do a game preview like I normally do. I wanted to
Oh,
I wanted to actually stream during the game, but I've got practice. So I won't get home from practice until 8:30, and the game starts at 8. So I wouldn't have time to get on, but I'll definitely do a post game show.
okay, okay.
Yeah.
Man, I was hoping you could do the private streaming, because oh wait, that's on ESPN too. I have that.
It's on ESPN
It's
too,
yeah,
yeah.
it's that NBA TV game I'm gonna miss, the one I want to see the most.
Oh, right. Right.
But yeah, I'll be around. I got 3 days off this week. I'm off Friday, so I should be able to jump in that show afterwards. I'll miss you tomorrow, but you know I always watch the rewind.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just gonna be, taking a few things that's already happened, and talk about those things. We probably won't really touch on it unless some information comes out about the tampering. Then we'll, jump in about the tampering things. But some other ideas about the Knicks and what they might be able to do. All that kind of stuff.
No doubt, yeah, no doubt. But like I said, man, appreciate you. Um, Shout out to the chat again, and yeah, we out of here until
No
next
doubt.
time.